Well, welcome everyone. I'm glad you can make it here to our home buying basics webinar. We got seminar on there, but we're obviously on the web tonight, right? I'm Jeff Porter. I'm sales manager over at Utah Community Credit Union, and this here to my side is Brett Wild. He's with the Wild Real Estate team, and we're gonna look to just answer a ton of questions and go over a lot of information for you about buying a home, and hopefully be able to get you guys feeling really comfortable tonight with just the whole way this product works. So, or program, I should say. Anyway, I'm going to tell you a little bit about ourselves, what our backgrounds are, and that kind of thing, and then we'll kind of get into it. So, Brett, I'll let you start a little bit here and tell them about yourself.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, so I'm always honored to take a part in these webinars. They've been a great source of education. The market's continuing to evolve and adapt and change, and so this is a great time to just get the word out of what's happening. And so you'll get to know Jeff and I a little bit with some of our own personal stories and experiences. And the goal is all your questions that you have and you've submitted, we'll have those answered for you. So a little bit about me. So years ago, I did a degree up at Weber State University and in technical sales, and I worked in the corporate world for 10 years. I'm sorry, for 5 years, but I've been in shortly after that, I started in the remodel construction industry for 3 years, and I've been in the real estate side now for about 10. So I've had a lot of experience in kind of every piece of the home building and purchasing and selling process, and I love what we do. It's really exciting, and it's been fun to marry those two industries together on the build remodel side and the residential sell side and on the investor side. And so there's just a lot of fun perspective that we're going to be able to share with you. So, but yeah, I live right here in Pleasant Grove. I've been in Utah County pretty much my whole life, and I don't plan on going anywhere because it's a great place to live. And if you're coming here from a different state or a different part of the state, you're going to love what this valley has to offer. So we're excited to just spend some time with you here tonight.
Great. Well, again, I'm Jeff Porter with UCCU. I've been 7 years now with UCCU, but I've been in the mortgage industry for a long time. Shouldn't really have 25 years. I'm getting old.
That picture.
I know, just that's 7 years ago. That's how much I've aged during that time. Oh boy. Anyway, I've been in the industry a long time because I love helping people with, their dream of home ownership and helping them through the process, and getting them into that house. It really makes you feel good inside to help people. And so, the coming here to UCCU has been a great fit for me. UCCU has a really, really great mortgage department. We do every kind of lending that there's out there: FHA, conventional, rural housing, Utah housing. We do construction loans and lot loans. We even have our own portfolio loans that fit really unique situations for people, and we can talk about that a little bit as we go along here today. But just really enjoy doing mortgages for people. So I think you'll find that I'm a pretty good resource tonight to be able to ask a lot of questions to, and we'll get through and hopefully be able to make you guys feel really comfortable about the home buying. So onward and upward. Let's tell you a little bit about what we have here. Like I said, we've got all the different programs here at UCCU, and because UCCU is a credit union, and we have a mortgage department within that, we don't have, the credit union already has spots for us, so we don't have overhead. We don't have extra expenses that the brokers have out in the broker world. And because of that, we're just able to get better interest rates for our members. So you're going to find better interest rates. If you have mortgage insurance on your loan, you're going to get better mortgage insurance because the credit union, their members perform better on their loans and paying. And because of that, we get better rates on the mortgage insurance side of it. So there's a lot of huge benefits with it. And another great thing that's happening right now is when you're closing a loan with this, all the conventional loans we're keeping at UCCU, and we're not selling those off in the secondary market, which is a really big deal. So what happens a lot of times, you'll go with somebody, you'll close the loan, and as soon as you close that loan, it's sold off to ABC company, and then ABC company sells that to XYZ company, and you're getting these letters in the mail. Your loan is now sold, and you're like, is this real or is this fraud or what's going on?
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about that with UCCU. And it's just another thing to relax, and you don't have to be upset about. So we love that. You could even literally walk into a branch and make a payment. Not that anybody does that anymore with how good everything is on the internet, but it's pretty fantastic the way that works. And UCCU has been around a long time in this valley. I don't know if you guys know this, but about 1 in every 3 members, or 1 in every 3 people, 33%, yeah, have done some type of business with UCCU here in Utah County. That's a huge percentage of people. So we've done a lot of business down here. We think it's really super important that we take care of our people, that we take care of our members, and making sure that they're getting the best of whatever we can offer, and in this case, mortgages. And because of how long we've been around, we've got great relationships with our real estate professionals like Brett here. And we've Brett, you and I have been working together 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, it's been up on 5 years already.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and man, it's been a great relationship, and we're looking to do quite a bit more together going forward. So anyway, great place to be here with UCCU, and we'll jump into here a little bit to tell you a little bit more about how the loan process works.
Perfect. Yeah, as we're switching slides here, and another endorsement by me is I've been pushing all my own personal loans through UCCU now for several years, and I have I think I'm closing on my 6th one now. So on the investment side, they're a great resource, but I can't tell you how much I love being able to go to one dashboard and have all my mortgages in one spot, and I can make extra payments on them. I can manage them in one location, because it really gets to be a headache as you're building your retirement and you're trying to keep all the stuff organized. So but anyways, the process is always smooth. The rates are always extremely competitive, and the fees are low, and I just feel like I'm getting a lot of value just being a member of the credit union myself. So
glad to hear you say that.
Yeah, it's been great.
Glad to hear you say that. Well, and as an employee there, I do all my loans through it, of course, and I feel the same way, but I'm biased. So so here, this next slide, we're talking about how to get pre-qualified. This is the first step that you take in looking to buy a home. I mean, this is the very first thing you do. And there are 2 things to realize, or 2 different things between pre-qualified and pre-approved. So pre-qualified is you fill out the application, you put down what you think you make, you say, this is about what I have in my bank account right now. We pull your credit, we look at everything, we go, yeah, based on what you've given us, yeah, you look pretty good, you're pre-qualified. And that's okay. But in today's world, we need to take the next step, and that's to get you fully pre-approved. And to get fully pre-approved, we need to look at your income documents, maybe your pay stubs and taxes, W-2s. We also want to look at your last couple of months of bank statements or 401ks, or the different assets that you have, and verify you and your identity and your documents. And by doing that, we can provide a pre-approval letter to the realtor or to the seller, a listing agent, and show them that you've taken all the steps you can to get to the point where we just need you to get under contract, and we're ready to get you right into underwriting pretty quick. So that's what a seller is looking for. They're looking for somebody, and you can attest to this. They're looking for somebody who's gone as far as they can in the approval process for their mortgage, and know exactly where they're going to be. They feel comfortable with talking to their loan officer about where the payments are going to look like and how that's going to fit their budget. And that's what we do during that pre-approval process.
Yeah, and so why is that important on the purchase side? A lot of you are on here because you're getting ready to purchase a home. Maybe it's been a while and you're just getting a refresher course. And so the whole landscape of purchasing right now is very different than even a year ago. And people aren't just choosing the highest offer anymore. There's a lot of different pieces inside that contract and that offer process that protects them. It gives them availability or room to negotiate once the price is established. And so a lot of these sellers, they are worried that the price that they agreed on up front might change during the contract period, and they're depending on that net amount or the amount that they get after they pay off their mortgage and they pay all the different fees associated with selling, and they need to depend on that amount that they're planning on in order to go purchase the next home. And so they're going to take a lot more time than they used to in the past to vet you as a buyer against those other buyers that might be bidding on their property. And so that's a huge step in uniqueness strategy that we use when we're putting an offer in for you. If we are using a pre-approval letter versus a pre-qualification letter, that's giving that seller a lot more confidence knowing that your finances have been vetted, verified, and the chances of you reaching the finish line just as you presented in your offer is much greater. So that's really the purpose of why we need to make sure that you have a pre-approval letter, so the file doesn't fall through and you potentially lose earnest money and time and effort of all of those, the energy to get a house under contract.
Yeah. So how do you start this process? Where do you go? Well, if you go to uccu.com, for us here at UCCU, you can go right to the mortgage side of the website, and there's an apply now button. You can simply click on apply now. That'll start you being able to input all of your information. You can get your credit pulled. You can upload the documents that it asks you to put in, and then you'll talk with a loan officer at that point, and the loan officer will reach out to you and work with you. So it's a pretty easy process to get started, and I would recommend, even if you're not really sure when you want to buy, to get started in that pre-approval process is the very first step to know, what can I be approved for? How much of those payments can it be? What's my interest rate going to look like? How is this going to fit to my budget? And one of the most important things that we get concerned about as loan officers when we're talking to you as a new buyer is, are we going to get you pre-approved for amount that the payment's too high, that, oh my gosh, that is going to be way too much against my budget, and you're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel house poor is how we put it. And so we want to have those good conversations with you and make sure that you feel comfortable going forward, and that you know how that's going to look. So we can go on to the next slide there.
Yeah, nobody wants to be house poor. I've been there once or twice early on, and that's the worst feeling in the world. So it's really nice for you to tell me or anyone else like where we should really be planning to spend. Yeah. So helpful.
So as we're going through this pre-approval process, some of the things will pop up, and some of the questions that people have immediately are, how does pulling my credit affect my score? Well, first, of course, we do need to pull your credit to know what your score is going to be, but it does affect you negatively at first, but it's only for a month or so. One of the things that's important for you to know, though, is, and I hate to say this, but you can go shop around and check with different lenders. You don't need to, because UCCU is so awesome, but you can certainly do that. But if you have several inquiries, it should only count against you one time, assuming that you're going to buy. If you weren't going to buy, let's say you went and shopped 5 different lenders, and then you decided, you know what, I am not going to actually go forward and look
Get a
to buy a home,
hmm
then each one of those inquiries would affect you 7 points. So your score would come down 35 points for about 3 to 6 months, and then it would go back up. Um, so you have to be aware that be careful. You don't want to go shop this around all over the place. If that, I would just start with one institution, get an idea of where you're going to be. If it sounds pretty darn good from what you're hearing and you're ready to go forward, look to go find a home. And then if you wanted to do some additional searching around from there, you could.
So are you saying then, just so I understand, if you pull your credit 2 or 3 times shopping, but then you end up getting a mortgage, then that's not going to affect you?
That's only going to affect you as one pull,
Oh, good to
is
know.
all.
Okay.
As opposed to, yeah, thank you for clarifying, as opposed to, if you had it a bunch of times. But if you don't ever get the mortgage,
hmm
that's when it's going to affect you on all of the pulls that you've had done.
Sure.
So, and then another big question I always get asked is, maybe my score, I'd like it to be a little higher. What could I do? And so these are some of the strategies we'll talk about as we're going. But one small thing I can tell you is revolving credit, meaning credit cards or store cards like an RC Willie card. It's important to have those things, but you have to use them in the right way.
hmm
So a little quick tip I can give you is that you never want your balance on a revolving piece of credit, like a credit card, to ever be more than 50% of whatever the limit is. So if you have a limit of $1,000, you never want your balance to go over 500. And if you have that throughout all of your different pieces of credit, that will give you the best score. As soon as that goes over that 50%, your score is going to go down. So just a little tip to help those folks that are looking for something right up front.
Yeah, let me talk on that one sec. So early on, when I first got started out of college, I had I had decent credit, but I didn't have very much of it, and so I didn't really have enough to be able to go qualify for a loan. And so I had a really good mentor, and he used to be one of the head analysts for Discover Card, and he walked us through a step-by-step process of how to build credit, how to get different varieties of credit, so it was diverse and it had more power. Anyways, there's a lot of things that you'll learn as you are building your profile, and some of it you'll learn tonight, but there's going to be a lot of other questions. But one of the incentives of being on the webinar this evening is we've got a couple of books, and it's, you know what, every time I put this on here, it's blurry, but you can see. Yeah, there you go. There it is. There's one, and there's a lot of things. Jeff, you look good right there. So that one there is going to walk you through just a bunch of these questions on the more in-depth strategies on building your credit and the search process, and a lot of the things we're talking about. There'll be some stories and some more specific examples. And then one thing that Jeff and I always like to do is, it's not so much about buying your next home or getting your next loan, but it's the more you can plan ahead and look far into the future as far as what your goals are, why you're purchasing, and you're thinking about your retirement strategy as you purchase and buy real estate and get mortgages, you're going to have a whole different retirement outcome. In fact, 83% of everyone's retirement comes from their home equity. And so as you get better at using your equity and knowing what decisions to make with home improvement projects and how those are going to boost your value, there's just a lot of cool things that you can learn, and we'll show you and teach you just through our own experience and through those of other people we worked with. But this book you're not going to find anywhere on Amazon. Unfortunately, it's just one that I wrote, and it's been helpful for people to learn. So we'll meet in person. The next step, kind of after the webinar here, is we'll give you some takeaways and to-dos, and then we'll give you a couple of these books. Here's the other one. Put this in front of your face there.
Okay.
This is a How Money Works book, and we found that very well. They just need to talk more about these principles in school and in education. You don't get enough about the rule of 72 and compound interest and what type of insurances that you should buy. And so lots of different tips here that's going to help you just get to the future and be on the path that's really just it's going to take you to the life that you want to live. And so a lot of that's going to be kind of strewn into our message here tonight. But that's really what we want to do to focus, to work
Yeah.
together on helping you have a solid plan, not just finding the next home and being done. So, yeah, moving on.
Okay. What scores get the best rates? Oh, I was just going to tell you real quick. So, what scores get the best rates? The 740 credit score and above is the best interest or best credit score you can have to put you on the top tier. But it's really, there are different tiers and different mortgage products and different things. There's one loan product for first time home buyers that you can get up to 100% financing, and anybody with a 660 credit score or higher gets the exact same rate for that loan. So it depends on the loan that you're doing, the product that you're involved with, to how the interest rate's going to affect, or your credit score is going to affect your interest rate. But the other thing, debt to income ratios, and what do they mean? Debt to income ratio is just exactly what it means. We're taking the ratio of your income or your debts, excuse me, divided by your income, and we're coming up with a ratio of how much you make. So, or how much you have available, and we don't want that to ever be over 45%. There are some products that, like our lot loans, are a little bit less than that, and there are some different loan options, but you want to be 45% or under for your total debt to income ratio. Housing ratios, most people want to be under about 30% on something like that, but that's something we talk about as we're.
So say that I make $5,000 a month for easy numbers, and I have a car payment of $1,000 and a credit card of another 1,000 for easy math. Like what does that mean, the 45%?
So what is 45% of 5,000? I believe that's 2,250. We'll just say it is.
Okay.
So we couldn't go over that means your total debts couldn't be over 2,250. And let's say your new mortgage is 1,500, then that leaves $750 left over that you could have towards other debts in that particular situation. Let's say you got a car loan of $500 and you don't have any other debts, then you're in the positive $250 before you get to that 45%. That probably just went.
Yeah.
We'll go over these things as you're looking to get pre-approved. I don't want you to get too much into the numbers or try to figure out these things on your own too much, but that's kind of the way that works. There is a question: do you also need installment credit for home loans? Surprisingly, no, you don't. You need a credit score, and some people, all they use is installment to get a credit score, but 50% of your total credit score is based on revolving credit. So you'd much rather have revolving credit than installment credit. Installment credit doesn't have quite the kick that the revolving credit has. Revolving credit, again, being credit cards, store card with like RC Willey or something like that.
And there's also a little bit of risk having too much revolving credit. If you get into where you're having 4 or 5, 6 credit cards, that could hurt you, even if you're keeping all your limits under the 50% mark. And so you want to really be strategic, and especially when you're looking to apply for a home loan, now is a really good time to do a financial assessment with Jeff or your lender at UCCU, and not open new accounts or revolving credit lines or get a new car loan or anything like that. So understanding how this credit piece works is going to really affect your payment a lot.
All right, sorry about that, James. If you could go to the next slide on there. So we've already kind of hit this. We're talking about that debt to income ratio, but how much can I qualify for or afford? We're going to look at, like we said, we're going to do a financial assessment, as Brett was mentioning, and we're going to look at your incomes, the other debts that you have, like credit card or card payments and those different things, student loan payments, and figure out where you're going to qualify. There are the most important thing that we're trying to do, and I've said this already, but the most important thing that we're trying to do for you is make sure that you feel comfortable with where the new mortgage payment is going to fall in your budget. And to us, that's the most important thing, because we want you to be able to not only enjoy the house that you're in, but be able to still live, right? We want you to be comfortable and enjoy that. So, that was the last line on there, but we've already hit this a little bit. So we can go on to the next slide on there. Now, there are different mortgages that we're going to get into, and I just want to kind of do an overview of what the mortgages are that are out there in the industry. You've got fixed rate versus adjustable rate loans. Fixed rates means that you're going to get a certain interest rate and it's never going to change for the life of the loan. But an adjustable rate mortgage is usually a fixed rate during a short period of that term, 3, 5, 7 years, and then for the rest of the time of the loan, it becomes adjustable. We don't do really any adjustable rate mortgages now, because when the rates came down, the fixed rates became so good that there was no benefit to do the adjustable rate loans. However, if the rates ended up jumping up and got to much higher than where they are now, adjustable rate mortgages might be something that people would be interested in. But for now, there wouldn't be any reason to do those.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 12 plus years since I've even seen one of these.
Yeah, people just don't really do them anymore.
Yeah.
And then from that, you have conventional loans. Conventional loans, you've probably heard the names Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They're the owners basically of all conventional loans at some point down the road. There might be a lender like Wells Fargo might buy a bunch of loans, or Chase or somebody like this. They might buy bundles of loans from different people who are closing them. But they end up with Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac down the road at some point. And UCCU sells directly to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So there's no middleman taking a cut of the money that could be made on that, which again allows us to give you better interest rates. But with the conventional loans, you're looking at anywhere from 3 to 5% down. And at a minimum, if you're a first-time home buyer, you can do 3% down. And if you're a second-time owner that you've owned a home within the last 3 years, then you may be required to put as much as 5% down. Now you can put more than that down, and if you put more than 20% or more down, then you wouldn't have what's called mortgage insurance. Mortgage insurance is for all loans that are anything less than putting 20% down. It's really not a big deal, but it's just a coverage for the lender. It doesn't do anything for you. It takes care of the lender in case you were to default. And it adds to the payment. But again, because we're a credit union, we get really, really good rates for those. And most people, when they're buying their first home, are more around the 3% down. They're not trying to put 20% down. That's a real difficult thing to do. But there is the misinformation out there that you have to put 20% down or more, and that's just not true. So do realize that you don't have to put that much money down to get into a house, because that would take a really long time to save.
Yeah, thank goodness. There's a lot of people just starting out and getting into a home, even if you can do it at 0% down. There's programs for you, but the way the market's increasing in price and values, you're better off financially to do what you can and utilize some of these programs available than if you save and save and save till the time you even get 5 to 20%, whatever your target is. You may be losing your buying power with the money that you saved, right? Because you're just chasing that market, and it's probably going to grow faster than you can earn, right? And I love that UCCU has that 3% conventional program too. That's been really nice.
Now we're probably going to talk about this a little bit later, but I'm going to jump into it anyway.
Yeah, please.
We also have what's a grant, a couple of different grants, but one of the grants available for first-time home buyers is a $7,500 grant that we have funds for available right now.
Awesome.
And that can be used towards your down payment or your closing costs, which is great. So that's just another thing. And then there is another grant that you have to make a little bit. It's an income-based one, so you have to make less, but they'll give you up to $20,000.
Unbelievable.
So,
geez, what was that before?
Yeah, pretty awesome.
Nice.
So anyway, we'll go on to the next slide and keep talking about these. I think the next one's FHA loans. FHA loans, that compared to conventional loans are Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and FHA loan is a government-backed loan. It's kind of interesting. FHA loans, all of them have mortgage insurance, but they have a little bit better interest rate than the conventional loans. but they get you. You don't get anything for free. And what they do is they charge an upfront funding fee on these loans that they just add to the balance of your loan. And so it's still a great loan, but you can see it's actually 3.5% down as opposed to the 3% down conventional. So you have to come in with a little bit more money down on this. And, it's a little bit better interest rate, but you have to pay that extra funding fee. And the mortgage insurance can be a little bit higher on this one. And so typically we see that the payments are about the same between the conventional loan and the FHA loan. Now, what's interesting is on these FHA loans, the mortgage insurance is for the life of the loan. It doesn't come off. But the conventional loan, that mortgage insurance will drop off when you get to 20% or 80% loan to value, 20% down. So as you're paying down that conventional loan, suddenly you're going to get to a point where, hey, my payment just improved. It's because you no longer have to pay mortgage insurance.
So is that all determined by, do I have to actually pay 20% out of my pocket to get that balance down, or is there other ways?
There's several different ways to get to that on a conventional loan. But if you're just making the minimum payments, you have money that's going towards your principal on your mortgage. And as that pays down, you'll eventually get to that 20% figure. And so if you're just making your payments 7-8 years down the road, that'll come off. However, right now we're seeing a lot of appreciation in homes, so the values are going up. So the conventional loans, they require that you pay the mortgage insurance for at least 2 years. But after that point, you could pay to have another appraisal done, and then they'll allow you to, at that time, if your value comes in good and much higher, they would allow you to remove the mortgage insurance.
Yeah, and that's interesting because the last 12 months, we just set a record in Utah on home appreciation. And throughout the whole state, we went up 30%. In some areas, we're more than others, but it's insane. Like how much that inflation has occurred here, and for a whole myriad of reasons. But even though we got a 30% increase, you're saying we still need to have at least 2 years before we can dispute that? Is there a way around that to do it?
So there is one. So there's the third part of this. You can get around waiting the 2 years if you just do a refinance. And right now, what we've done for a lot of people is we've done a no-cost refinance.
Awesome.
In a lot of cases, we're reducing the interest rate, plus we're getting rid of the mortgage insurance. And so we're doing a double whammy in reducing that payment even more. And so, assuming we're going to continue on this upward trajectory, it is really a great time to buy. You can get into a home. Your payment might be X, but 6 months, a year from now, you could do a refinance potentially and completely get out of that mortgage insurance and everything.
That is just unheard of. So we've been seeing a lot of clients that have just bought a home within the last year, and the rates have actually dropped from a year ago till today. And so not only did they get a better rate by refinancing at no cost, but their payments are better because, they dropped off that PMI.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next product down here is the Utah Housing Loan. And this Utah Housing is a great first-time home buyer program. It's a combination first-second mortgage program. So it uses this FHA loan with 96.5%, and then it does a simultaneous second to 6. So 96.5 plus 6, they will go up to 102.5% financing. And that's important because you have two things that you're paying when you're coming to close when you're buying a house. You have the down payment and you have closing costs. So in this case, with using this program, you don't have to pay either one of them. The 2.5% is paying your closing costs and your down payment. So we've had people literally just be able to get into these homes and with nothing out of pocket.
Zero down.
Does it always work perfectly that way? No, you may have some money you have to come to close with, depending on the whole situation and what we're doing. But in most cases, it's pretty minimal.
It's powerful.
So that's a really great product, Utah Housing. We've done lots of those for folks. And UCCU is a direct lender with Utah Housing. So we do all our own underwriting. We don't have to send it to them or worry about that in any way, which is great.
Awesome. And Utah Housing, you can qualify for a Utah Housing any place in Utah, right?
No. What do you mean?
Well, there's
Oh,
USDA
I'm
and
sorry.
Utah Housing.
I thought you meant any lender.
Yeah, so
No, there's only
location-wise, is
certain
what we're
lenders.
talking about.
Only certain lenders can do it. But location, yeah,
There you go.
there are no geographical limitations of Utah housing. You can go geographically anywhere to any property and use that product. So it's great.
Perfect.
A couple of questions that have popped up. Can we learn more about these grants and other assistance? They're very much dependent on an individual situation. So it really is difficult. And depending on where you're buying too, because they have different
Same thing,
income
like
calculations from where you are and whatnot. It would be really hard for me to tell you individually if one person qualifies versus another. All I can tell you is they are out there. We can look at you on an individual basis and see if you qualify. So that'd be something we'd have to talk to you on an individual basis about. But one thing for sure that you have to be is a first-time home buyer. And there are income limitations for your household depending on where you're buying. And that's the best I can tell you. So sorry about that. Let's go to the next slide on this. So VA loans, we do those as well. That's for veterans. So if you are a veteran and you have your veteran benefits, VA benefits, and you qualify for that, the VA loan is a fantastic loan. 100% financing, no down payment. Most of the time, what we do is we're going to set your interest rate to where the closing costs are even paid for you. It is a great loan. There's no mortgage insurance. So it is a really, really great loan. But you have to serve the military. You have your VA benefits. USDA loans, another great loan, but this one is geographically limited. You have to be in a rural area, and there's no rural areas in Salt Lake County. Utah County, we do have a couple areas. We have west of the Jordan River, so parts of Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain, and then south of the Spanish Fork River. So parts of Spanish Fork, Salem, Santaquin, whatever's down there.
Yeah, and those will probably not last that much longer because look what's happening on the other side of the lake, and it's booming, and that's a huge growth area that's still got room for housing, and so who knows how much longer that's going to last.
Right,
but it's still here today.
For now, it should go through the end of the year anyway. We would expect on that particular one, they usually only make their adjustments once a year, but that's 100% financing that product too, and it's has monthly mortgage insurance, but it's really cheap with that particular product. But again, there are income limitations and there's geographical limitations on that one. So depending on where you want to live, that might be an option. Let's kick to the next slide. So the next deal, hiring a real estate professional. I'm going to let you jump in on this part.
Yeah, thanks. So Jeff's talked a lot about the lending side and what you need to know about getting ready financially. And I'll talk more about the search process and what an agent does. What's our job? And so I always like to start off with the story. And I didn't always know that I wanted to be in real estate, and I always knew I liked housing and I loved the investment side, and there's just so many parts of it that was intriguing. But finally, when I finished college back in 2004, I was really excited because I was finally ready and qualified to buy a home. I had a W-2 income now. I qualified for some of these programs, and I was on my route one day when I was out selling. In fact, it was right here in Orem, down 1200 West. It was across the street from the Old Trafalgar, if you remember that. And anyways, as I was passing by, I noticed that there was a sign, a for sale by owner sign, in the front yard of this specific house. And it seemed to just be a perfect location for what I had in mind. And I was single back at the time, and I still had a lot of friends, and I spent a lot of time near the UVSC, I think it was back then. But anyway, so I just pulled over my car and I walked up to the front door, and this gal answered the door, and I told her that I wanted to look at her home. And So she let me in and toured me around, and it seemed like a great fit. Checked all the boxes of what I was really after, and I told her I was interested. So I really didn't know what to do. I didn't have a coach or anybody guiding me through this, and so I knew I needed a loan because I didn't have the $165,000. And so anyway, I called a friend. He referred me to a lender after I left her house. And as I was leaving, though, I told her, I said, "Hey, listen, I'll call you back in a little bit. I think I want to buy this." And she just said, "Okay, I'll sell it to you." And so it wasn't an hour later after I called and talked to this lender, and he said, "Yep, I think we can get you done. Zero down." By the way, I didn't have a dime because I just spent it all on tuition and finished up school. And so I was just totally thrilled because I was able to get a zero down loan, no closing costs. Um, so I called him back and I said, "Hey, listen, her name was Danette. I'm approved. I want to get the house. What do we do now?" So she said, "Oh, great. Well, I hate to tell you, but I had somebody else stop by, after you guys left, after you left, and they said they'd pay me 5,000 more than what you said that you'd pay me, what we talked about. And, I really want to work with you, but I just can't give up that kind of money. So why don't you come down? If you can match that, then we can see if we can make something work." So anyway, I was a little upset about it, and I didn't really understand the negotiation side at all. It was all new to me. But anyway, I said, "Well, just hold it. I'll be right down." So I drove right down to her house. She had a stack of papers on her kitchen table, and we started going through them. And she's telling me where to initial, and I'm going through signing the papers. And then she told me I needed to give her a check for the earnest money, which I didn't really know what that did, but I remember writing her a check personally, and seemed just fine to me. But
No.
so there was a lot of things that were happening and happening quickly, and I didn't really think it was that big of a deal because I just finished my degree. I mean, I took some contract classes and it seemed pretty straightforward. Um, so now fast forward a month. So that's how long it took to get the loan done. And I was super excited for my settlement day, right? The closing time frame. So I went to the title company and I signed a whole bunch of papers, and I headed back to the house, to get my keys and get in and walk through the front door. And I remember those few days prior was really wet and rainy. And so when I opened the door, she sent me a text message when I told her I'd close. She said, "Okay, the keys under the front mat. Enjoy." And that was the last thing I ever heard from her. And so when I got the key, I opened the front door. I walked in the house and went up the stairs. And this was an old 1970s home, and it had a swamp cooler up on the roof. And I quickly learned what a swamp cooler was because I heard some dripping coming out of the roof from all the rain, right? So, anyways, as I went and investigated, not only was it dripping, it had probably been happening for that whole week because there was a whole wet trough coming down the paint from the swamp cooler, right? So I started texting her. She was MIA. I couldn't get a hold of her. And then, as I was just thinking of what to do, I walked in the kitchen to notice that the fridge, the stove, the microwave, and the dishwasher was all gone, right? And so, I mean, that wasn't good because I didn't know how to get a hold of her. She told me when we did our walkthrough that all those things were supposed to be included and she was going to leave them in addition to some other items. So here I am now with hardly anything left in the bank because I just, spent whatever else I had. And as I'm thinking about what to do, I start calling some family members and trying to get some advice. And the first thing they said was, "Well, what did your contract say?" And I said, "Well, I mean, I can't remember. I just signed where she told me to sign an initial." And and they emphasized again, "Well, wasn't your appliances included?" And I said, "Well, yeah, she said they were." Well, come to find out that on a real estate purchase contract, on standard boilerplate documents here in Utah, all of your appliances, if your dishwasher, which is always included in the home sale, if your microwave's attached to the cabinets, that's included every time.
Basically, anything you turn over and you
Yeah.
take and
So if you take your home and you turn it over and shake it, anything that remains attached to the home is included. Those are fixtures. But in addition, the dishwasher, the range, and the microwave are also included in the sale, okay? Unless it's specifically excluded. And the fridge can be negotiated, which we talked about. So, anyways, here I am now. Put yourself in my shoes, and I basically just in a world of hurt. I already had a couple people that were going to be moving in and renting a few rooms for me, so I had these commitments I had to fulfill. Um, but and I didn't know what to do about the water problem. And so as I continued to look around, I found another handful of problems. There was another leak that was in the basement, one of the copper water supply lines, and all these projects that all of a sudden I had to deal with, right? So
dang.
just it was an experience that I wish that I didn't have to go through then, but now I'm glad I did, because if you take that experience and thousands of others that we've helped clients work through, it's really good to have somebody that you can lean on that knows the process and knows how to work through things and how to negotiate what you're entitled to. Just because it's such an expensive purchase, and it's either going to go awesome or it's going to go terrible. And when it does cost money, it's not just hundreds of dollars. A lot of times it's thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. And so, anyway, that's a little story of what made me intrigued to get into real estate and and not have to go through these things again or help others to avoid these types of problems. And so that's really what you want an agent to help you with, is just to guide you through these scenarios. And there's literally thousands of these. We've been doing this now for 12 years, and I still come across new scenarios on a weekly basis. And it's just amazing when you get different homes, different type of properties, different personalities. There's so many different types of negotiations that happen. And so it's just really powerful to have a team and a lender in a group that can help navigate through all these potentially costly scenarios. So going back with this scenario, I mean, why did I even try to go on my own anyways? Is because I understood that I could get some help, but I didn't have the money to pay an additional percentage, several $1,000s, to hire an agent. And so I just figured I'd save the money and do it myself. That's what we do in Utah, right? We do it ourselves.
DIY, right?
Yeah. So we got Home Depot, we got YouTube. And so, anyways, what I later found out as I got more involved in the industry, is a buyer's agent specifically is when you go out and buy a home, your buyer's agent is paid by the seller. And so not only did I, negotiate this by myself and tee myself up to have, all that financial damage, which ended up costing me close to $15,000 by the time you add all those problems up. I saved the seller, 3% of $160,000. I saved her a lot of money, right? And so it wasn't helping me at all by not getting an agent. It was really just helping her. And so, anyways, that was frustrating. And so, the next point here, what's the difference between some of the different teams and agents? There's every scenario out there, and you're seeing signs up and down the freeway. You're seeing advertisements for different agents and brokerages come through your social media feeds. And never before has there been so much disruption in our industry as there is today on the lending side and the brokerage side. And it's going to continue to happen. And so take some time to do your due diligence to understand the differences between the people that you're going to hire and what they offer, what their experiences are, and what incentives that they have. Okay. And so, for example, some things that's really fun for what we do in our team is we've kind of married the remodel side with the residential existing side of the business, and we kind of have an HDTV experience. And so why that's important to you is because its inventory is so low out there, and you're looking and looking, and you're hoping that new homes come up on the market. it can be very frustrating because you're just not seeing options that will work for you. And so part of what's such a natural thing of our process is these homes that we see that might be in a good school district and the right price point, and it might be close to mom and dad or whatever your geographical requirements are. You might be limited in that aspect, and the only few options that are out there just won't work because you needed more open space between your living room and your kitchen, or that master bathroom, you had to have a wheelchair accessibility, an ADA, type of a setup. And so when you're working with our perspective, our skill set, we're going to show you right on site on what can be done, what those things cost, how much it costs to make changes, and then we can facilitate those adjustments and customizations right as soon as you close. But more importantly, we can give you real-time estimates, and then what you miss out on whenever you watch, Property Brothers and these different Chip and Joanna's. Most of the time in today's market, when you put $1 into remodeling your home, you're only going to get 35 to 50 cents max back in return. And so we're going to be able to kind of help you see both perspectives on what things cost versus what the value increase is, and again help kind of do financial strategy, financial planning through home ownership. And so we really try to look at the whole big picture from a higher elevation to help you make better decisions, right? So also,
Yeah, I wanted just to give a little plug to your team too, because I think there's a big difference between just working with a team, working with an agent versus working with a team. And I had a situation where I was looking to buy an investment property, and I've always just thought of Brett. He's my realtor, and but he has a team, and he's got several people on his team, so that if he's not available, somebody else can help me. And in my particular situation, that helped me actually get under contract to buy this property. And what had happened is Brett has me set up on these cool little things that pop up on my email once a day and show me the new properties that are coming in. And that's something you get to, right? So anyway, I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, this one, that's great. I love this. So I call Brett, and he's like, Jeff, I'm not in town. Let me have you talk to one of my team members. So I'm able to go and talk to Mikkel. Mikkel's like, yeah, let's go out and look at it right now. So we go out, we look at it, we call the listing agent, ask a few questions, and we make an offer. And because we were so quick to get out there and do that, we got our offer accepted, and I was able to buy the place. But, it could have been a different situation. Had Brett not had a team, he might have said, can we do this tomorrow when I'm back in town? And that may have been too late. And probably with this particular property, it was a pretty hot property, we were able to get it. So I think that's a big difference between a team atmosphere and an agent just a single agent atmosphere is having that backup, having the people to be able to support you. And actually the same thing is going on with UCCU. We've got a lot of different loan officers, but we cover for each other. We're a team in that respect. So when we're out of town, I happened to go to Disneyland last week, and then I had team members that were able to take my loans and help facilitate those and get those going while I'm on the rides with the kids and not stressed out about making sure that my people are getting taken care of. And that's a big deal. And one other thing I forgot to mention with UCCU is we actually have all our own in-house processors, in-house underwriters. We've got all of our managers are right there and involved with the entire process. And so things go a lot smoother. You have less issues and concerns because everybody is working together to make sure the members are taken care of. So
yeah, those are huge points. And when you start to deal with this real estate process, time is of the essence. And it's so important on the search side of things, because homes come up and they don't last long. And if you can't jump on them, like what Jeff said, and have someone that's going to be able to in real time schedule, confirm, meet you at that property, you're going to lose it to the next guy. And then once you go under contract, if someone's not there to really babysit your file, like I'm in the middle of a pretty sophisticated file right now that I'm personally closing, and like Jeff said, he was gone last week, and so he put me to his right hand guy, and we're closing right on time. And that would have been a really big problem had we not been able to close that. And I would have lost a whole bunch of earnest money and other efforts that we put in to get to this point. And so having different members help you and not just relying on one solo agent or lender can really set you apart. So things are moving really quick, and there's just a lot of different things. And we've collectively spent a lot of time planning and strategizing on how to make a process instead of just how to turn one client into a happy customer. And so there's just a lot of different things on the team side too, where we've added free moving services. We've got several moving trucks, and we do a lot of different things just to help streamline from A to B to make your life a lot easier, because you're going to be stressed, and there's just a lot to go through that you don't anticipate. And so anyways, find out, ask good questions, look online, check references. There's also different tools that you can see on the back end of the MLS that you can check how many homes a person sold, how long they've been in the industry. So there's good ways that you can vet your lender or your agent. So let's see what's next here. We've got James driving the PowerPoint here tonight. So so this is another important piece. Finding a home, the search process. Okay, there's lots of different ways to search. I mentioned the for sale by owner that I stopped at and I visited with. That's perfectly fine to do, and in fact, we encourage you to do what you can to look on whatever sites that you want to look on, or stop at open houses or model homes. But just understand how it works and why. And so open houses, those are when you're driving around from neighborhood to neighborhood. You see flags, you'll see balloons. You walk in the home. The person that's going to greet you and open the door is going to be a real estate agent, the listing agent that represents that seller. Okay, so that person has already signed an agreement that he has a responsibility to look out for the financial interest of that seller. And he's going to be very excited when you show up if you don't have your agent, because he's basically set up to potentially negotiate a deal that's better for him and better for his seller or her seller. And yet he's already established what the compensation will be on the buyer's side, so you're for your buyer's agent, and for him as the listing broker or the listing agent. Okay, so if you go directly to that person, he's going to be extremely happy to help facilitate and present an offer to his seller, and he'll offer whatever it is that you ask him to offer,
because he's representing both sides now.
That's right. And if you go in and say, well, listen, I don't have an agent, he'll still present your offer. But what happens is when he presents the offer, that seller is already committed to pay potentially, let's just say, for example, if he had a 6% listing, which would cover a 3% for his brokerage and a 3% for the buyer's brokerage, that they planned on them bring buyers, he's basically going to make double the commission, and he's still going to represent a lower offer to the seller. So you actually aren't gaining any advantage of working directly with him.
Yeah, I can see that being an issue. I'd rather have my own agent who's representing me than somebody who's representing both sides, because I don't know that I'd feel comfortable thinking that they're really representing my best interest. I'd rather have someone just representing me. That's me, but I can see I don't know.
Yeah. And sometimes it could work out great, but the reality is that it really puts the seller and him in a bad position, because now everybody's questioning which interest is that they should pursue and which one they should really respect most. And so it kind of misaligns just the whole interest and the integrity of the contract.
Yeah, I think it's important to just reiterate that when you hire a buyer agent, the seller of the home is paying the commissions of the agent that's representing you. And that's a big deal, where you're not it's not something more you're paying in the price of the loan, the price of anything. That was already negotiated, like you said, by the by the listing agent and the seller. They figured all that out first. So when you show up with your agent, it's not a big deal. It's already considered.
That's right. And so stop into those open houses. It's no problem. Um, but what you want to do is just take a stack of cards with your agent, let them know you're working with somebody. If you have questions, refer it back to that person, and so you still get the help that you deserve.
You know what I like the best about an agent going in and making an offer is the fact that they're negotiating for me. I mean, you guys are like master negotiators, and I am not. I'd like to think I'm good at it, but there's so many different personalities in the real estate world and different sellers and listing agents and different things you guys have to deal with. And you get to know people, and you'll get to know an actual individual who is on that listing side in the real estate world. I'd much rather work with somebody who can work that relationship where that guy doesn't know me for anything.
Yeah, and there's a lot of specific questions that we ask that the more you know and you find out, how is that going to help your position as a buyer? And it's so powerful. And so anyways, there's a lot of strengths there. So there's the open houses or there's the model homes. Either way, feel free to go look through on your own. Just give your agent a heads up, let him know what's going on. If it moves past walking in and seeing a home and you're interested, just let that person get involved because they will help you get a better deal. We've done this, we're doing this every single day, and our team sold thousands of homes. And so there's not a lot that we haven't seen that we know, that we're going to get stumbled on how to work through. And so another site, Zillow. Zillow has, in my opinion, one of the very best interfaces of any site out there, and it's very appealing. Their site is very user friendly. However, last time you got on Zillow, did they ask you for a credit card? Did they ask you for payment to use their site? They don't. And their paying customer are people like us and all the agents in the industry. And so there's all these homes that come up on Zillow, and you'll find, if you haven't already, when you call on these homes, often you're going to realize sold, gone under contract, not available. Yeah. And so it's so frustrating because you just found this option, you fall in love with it, you reach out and it's gone. And so that's an important thing to understand, because the agents that are putting their homes on Zillow, they're paying hundreds, if not thousands of dollars per month per zip code where they're advertising. And you've noticed when you get on a lot of, on the right-hand column, and they're switching this up occasionally, but there'll be rotated agents that you call on to get information. Those agents are the ones that are paying to get your lead. And so the listing agents, in order to maximize their profits, they will on purpose not remove their under contract listings because they want to capture more leads, and then it enables them to tell a story that, oh, I'm sorry, that one's gone under contract. Let me get your information. Let me help you get into something else. And so it becomes a situation where the more homes you call from sites such as Zillow and others, you're going to be added to that broker or agent's database, and you're going to start to see that your phone's going to start blowing up and driving you crazy. And so, and the homes half the time aren't available anyways. And so that's how a lot of these sites work. What we do is our site, the Wild Team site, is actually married into the MLS, which is utahrealestate.com. And we also have another site that we're just launching this month.
That was the site that I was plugged into, as I got to see the new listings that were coming up. Mm-hmm. So I knew that these weren't properties that had been under contract yet or sold, because they're brand new. And it was great to have that, where I just got, we put in the criteria of what I was looking for, and it was coming over, and I was only seeing the homes that were available.
That's right. It's powerful. So we also have a shared site that we have with UCCU called Utah Home Buzz. And I bring that up because we have a big sphere, a big database. And because of some of these relationships, we have this morning, we had over 40 homes right here in the valley that are off-market properties that are either coming soon or nobody else knows about them. And so that's going to be another huge advantage, is having opportunities that nobody else is seeing. And so just gives you a lot more chance to be able to get in and win.
James, can you put that in the Q&A? That's utahhomebuzz.com.
Yeah, so that's kind of fresh off the press. We've been working on it for a while, but we're launching that here this week. You'll start seeing some advertising for that. There's Homey, there's other broker sites, and those all have a place. And depending on who you are and what you're trying to accomplish, some of these different platforms can provide a lot of value for you. And the difference is, like Homey, for example, they're a flat rate. You basically, if you list a home with them, you pay a flat rate up front, and so after they're paid, there's a little bit of a loss of incentive to continue to be involved in your account, and there's not as much accountability between you and that agent that you hire. And so there is a place for every platform out there. It's just good to understand what they do, what the differences are, and so that you can best achieve your specific goals, right? So anyway, let's go to the next slide. All right, so placing an offer, another important strategy, okay? Today is harder than it's ever been to get an offer accepted.
So true.
Finally, in probably the last 3 weeks, it's starting to slow down a little bit. We're starting to see days on market is expanding to where, past a week is starting to become a little more regular. But literally, from a few weeks ago, probably the previous rolling 12 months, if a home was on the market for more than about 7 days, people considered it stale. And what's wrong with this? How come people aren't buying it, right? And so in order to compete against so many other qualified buyers, you've got to have a strategy on how you're going to win. How are you going to set yourself apart when there's 4 other groups that want that home as bad or more than you do, right? So in that book that you'll read, you'll notice that we have some specific strategy. We actually have 7 strategies now. We won't get into it right now, but just know when we're in your corner and when we meet together to get into your specific goals and we build out a search strategy for you on which homes we're going to buy, we're going to have you positioned with the specific key strategies on how to win an offer. Okay, we put a lot of research and time into this, and so we're going to have some ideas that's going to help you so you can spend less time in the grind trying to find the right home. But when we do find it, we can offer in the right way and win and be done and be able to get that file over to the lending side and get you through and back to your normal life. Because the fact is when you're in the search process, it's fun for the first little bit, but pretty soon you're taking time off work. You might be having to get babysitters. Your life is disrupted and it's not convenient, especially if it starts going from week to week and you just can't find a home. It's emotionally and mentally exhausting. So we want to employ our strategies and get you accepted and get you to move on and go under contract as soon as we can.
What I've loved is how good your team has done with that. You guys as a team have done a fantastic job on winning those bids. So anyway,
yeah,
plug to you guys.
We're always improving and learning. But so going back to the first example, I wrote my earnest money check to that gal, that seller, and at that point, once I gave that to her, I had no recourse on if I were to pull out or if I were to cancel the contract, that money was gone. And how am I going to get that back from her, right? And so the way earnest money is supposed to work is when you submit an offer, you've got deadlines that are in your offer. And the first one is called your seller disclosures, okay? So within a few days, that's the time period where the seller is required to give you a 7-page packet which highlights all the knowledge that they have regarding that home, if there's ever been any insurance claims, or if they've ever had any legal drugs, or if they've ever done any additions or remodels that hasn't been approved by the city. Basically, the idea is you're getting all the information from them, goes to you, and there's legal recourse that if they're not honest or they don't disclose what they're supposed to disclose, that could come back and bite them. And so that's an important piece of your due diligence process, which is there's another deadline. That's your next deadline is generally you'll have about 2 weeks to digest that seller disclosures packet, and then you're going to be able to do your inspection. Okay, so you're going to hire a building inspector or a home inspector, and he's going to go spend 3 or 4 hours test driving your home. He'll turn on all the lights. He's gonna run all the faucets. He'll run some cycles through the dishwasher, check your oven. He's going to get up in the attic, up on the roof. He's literally going to try every way he can to find problems, and then he's going to document that in a very thorough inspection report that's going to have pictures of things to fix or things to keep watch on, or just where certain shutoff valves are. So you're really getting kind of a preliminary manual of all the things that you should know about in order to move forward with confidence, right? And so that's part of your due diligence phase. And as long as your contract that you agreed with the seller is contingent upon that due diligence, that contingency protects your earnest money. So if it comes up to 2 weeks now and there's things that come up on that inspection report that you're not comfortable with, this is now our opportunity to go to the seller and say, hey, listen, there's a leak in the swamp cooler and it needs to be fixed. And so does the drywall, or I'm not going to close. And if we're not happy with whatever that response is from the seller, we can contractually pull out, withdraw, and you can get the earnest money refunded 100% back to you. Now, how easy would that be to get your earnest money back had you given that directly to the seller like I did? Right?
Like impossible.
It's pretty much not going to happen. And so we take your earnest money, we deposit it into a trust account in our brokerage, and it's totally protected, and you don't have to worry about it being jeopardized. Once you close, that earnest money is going to be applied to your down payment, and so it goes towards the pay down of your home.
Yeah, and that's important to know. The money doesn't just disappear. The earnest money just doesn't appear. It disappears. It goes toward the mortgage itself. So let's say you had to come in with $5,000 to close, for example, and your earnest money was $1,000. Well, now you'd only have $4,000 left.
Right.
So
that's how that works, and that is those are strategies we'll use, is how much earnest money that we should put down, and how many offers currently are there on the home. So there's a lot of strategy that even has to do with earnest money that we'll talk through. So due diligence has to do with inspection. If you're buying in a community that's in a townhome or a twin home or PUD, which is a planned unit development where there's homes that have common space, then you're going to be tied to an HOA. And there's been a lot of communities that have awesome HOAs. I live in one and I love it, and there's so much value it provides. There's other HOAs that you've heard on the news that they haven't paid contractors, or there's been major problems that happen inside the community, that there's lawsuits that happen, and they can literally put liens on individual homes. And so they'll either be the very best thing for you or the worst thing for you. So understanding the culture of the HOA, what they include, the CC&Rs, the financials, the bylaws, all those things, it's our job to help you walk through the due diligence and be feeding you the information that's pertinent to that specific home. Okay, so after
I got to say something real quick. So you actually saved me big time, because I was looking to buy a property, and it was in a place that we knew, and we're like, oh yeah, we really like to buy one here, and saw it, and we even made an offer, and we said, hey, let's check and make sure that this is going to fit what we want to do. And we found out that the HOA had changed some of their bylaws, and we couldn't do it as a rental. We could not rent that property. It's not allowed. And had we bought that not knowing, we would have to turn around and just sell the property immediately, because we wouldn't have been able to rent it, and it would have cost us a bunch of money. So this is really important information that your realtor helps you through and protects you from having something come up that can be crazy bad.
And Jeff's situation, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal to just close and then find out and then have to sell. I mean, selling it's not super complicated if you do it the right way. But the thing is, had you turned around and sold it, you probably would have had to lose, $15,000 to $20,000, maybe $30,000 to offload that home.
Yeah.
And so that would have stung. And it's really easy to get out of a contract when it's still in contract phase. But as soon as it closes and you take title,
oh boy,
it's not pretty. So that's why you want to be so,
and that's why there are these deadlines.
Thorough. Yeah.
That's why you have these deadlines. And if you have a good team in place to help you walk through these things, you're protected, and that's the important part.
Absolutely. So moving on, home warranties. During our due diligence process is when we'll negotiate a home warranty for you. That's basically a year protection. Once you close, you spent down payment money and maybe closing costs, and so you're a little thin on cash. A home warranty is a 1-year protection where an outside company will come in and they'll give you an overlay of protection. So if your furnace goes out or your water heater or there's any other type of problems, you just pay a $69 to $79 deductible. They'll come in and fix or repair whatever problems come up. So
again, invaluable. Had those. They replaced a water heater. I've had a stove replaced, a refrigerator. I mean, to me, like, that is just like the most awesome thing to have. And so if you're going through that process, definitely have your realtor help you with negotiating.
yeah, it's just very, very valuable. And I didn't have an inspection. I didn't have a home warranty on that first home. Just a lot of things that was a lot, it was costly, and I didn't have the money to pay for it. So really within the due diligence period, like it says, anything else that comes up, it's the sole discretion of the buyers to cancel. If you don't like the way things are playing out and your offer is contingent upon due diligence, that protects your earnest money that for whatever reason it is. If you lost your job, if you just woke up the next day and didn't feel good about it anymore, as long as we've negotiated your contract and it's contingent upon that due diligence, you can walk and just get all your money back. And so it takes the pressure off of feeling like that whichever house that you offer on, you're stuck with it, right? All we're doing is getting engaged. We're going to court this home a little bit more, maybe more seriously. And if you don't like what you find out, and there's some skeletons in the closet,
you get your ring back.
You're out of there, right? That's how it works. So, okay. So then you have your financing and appraisal deadline. That's generally another week past due diligence.
That's me.
That gives Jeff an opportunity to have that appraisal come in, which is a third party outside person that's not a party to the contract, is going to go evaluate the home to make sure that there's other homes similar that basically justifies the contract price, what you're paying for. And so, and then also that your financing comes back, the underwriters approved it, right? So we can move past financing appraisal knowing that once we go past there, your earnest money now is generally hard, non-refundable, and you know that you're going to be able to close in a few more days.
Yeah, so just to kind of expand on that part, you have the pre-approval. When we first talked to you, got you comfortable about your payment. We checked your income documents and your bank statements, and everything's looking good. Then you've gone out, you've got under contract, you've gone through this these parts with Brett. But in the meantime, once you're under contract, we're getting additional things. We're getting title work from the title company. We're ordering this appraisal and getting that back. We're collecting a few other little things that we've noticed that the underwriters are going to want to see. And we're submitting your file into underwriting. And then, they take a day or two, they come back and they say, yep, you're approved, or maybe you're not approved because of some reason. And so we have a deadline for that on this purchase contract that we're making sure that we hit and that we're at, so that as long as we have your underwriting and your appraisal done before that time, now we know that everything's okay. But if it's not okay, again, you have a reason to be able to back out of the contract.
That's right. So we're here to just protect you every step of the way. We're going to spoon feed you the information as it comes, and you're going to learn a lot. That's the idea. Is we're not just trying to help you buy this home. Like I said, most people today are buying a home every 3 to 5 years. The better you get at this process and the more knowledge you have, you're going to have a whole different outcome 10 years down the road. So let's go to the next slide, James.
There was a couple of questions here. While we're going to the next slide, way back, Simone had said, can these options be combined? And she was talking about different loan products, because that's what we were talking about at the time. No, you can't combine different loan products. You choose one or the other, like you do an FHA loan or you do a conventional loan. You could combine a grant to go with your loan, but that's the only two things you could combine. Then also it said, do HOAs build equity? No. What's building equity is the value of the other homes that are selling in your area that are similar to your property. So if all the homes, there's a bunch of homes selling and they keep going up in price and they keep selling for higher and higher prices, that's what's building equity.
Yeah, so the HOA is basically just a group of homeowners within your same community, and they basically have a board that they collectively make decisions on how to, manage the common space, or if there's, a shared walls between townhomes and there's one roof that goes, that covers four of the units. How is that managed, and how are those funds going to be, how are they going to be dispersed? So that's what an HOA is.
We'll get to this question in a minute. Go ahead.
Okay. So now you go to closing. Okay. A lot of people think, okay, it's time to close. Great. I'm moving in tomorrow, or I'm moving in right as soon as I get my keys. Generally speaking, it's going to take a day. Sometimes it's sooner. Sometimes it's takes more time till the property records with the county. Until that happens and the seller receives your funds, it's not yours just yet. So you're close. You'll get a notification from your agent telling you when that does happen. And then at that point, we'll have a checklist for you about how to switch your utilities over and then your mail. We also, or part of what we really love doing is we love to be, kind of your concierge and your coach on your home maintenance, and again, on how to get the best return on investment on the things that you do to your home. Once you own a home, you're going to find it's very tempting to spend chunks of money to do improvements, to finish that basement, or to put in that pergola, or whatever it might be, put on the solar panels. And you're going to start seeing that you're now a salesperson's favorite audience, and you're going to get your people are going to come knocking at your door. There's things that are really good on how to improve your value and increase it, and then there's other things that really won't make a difference. For example, when you have somebody come up to your home to sell you solar panels, which is really popular, and there's some tax credits there. Most of these guys will tell you that the $30,000 it costs to put those on your roof is going to increase your home value. Well, I can't tell you the last time I saw a home that had solar panels that had $1 increased on the price.
It doesn't.
What happens is that seller is forced to pay those off if they have a balance on that additional loan before that a new buyer is going to close on the home. And so these are just good ideas, good things to know. Another quick example is today with the shortage of labor, with the material costs have skyrocketed. You're going to spend $45 to $50 a square foot to finish your basement if you choose to do that. You're only going to get $15 back in resale value, and so and
you lost $35 per
square foot. So you're talking, $40,000-$50,000 of difference, depending on how big your basement is, right?
Right.
So there's all these little, these detailed specifics on every one of those considerations as you think about improving your home. And so talk to us. Let's help analyze that, and we'll help you just stay in control and on top of your home value as you move forward. And so there's a lot of tax benefits to owning a home. You're going to start paying your mortgage. And what's kind of frustrating, could be frustrating, is you feel like you're paying all this money out in interest, because your first few years you might only be paying a third of that payment goes to your principal and the rest of it goes to interest. But you get to write off the interest that goes, that you're paying on your mortgage. That may be tax deductible. And so some of that you'll be able to recapture, which might mean $2,000 or $3,000 back, depending on your tax bracket at the end of the year. And so if you're renting, none of that's tax deductible, and all of that all those monies are basically just going into to benefit the landlord, right? Yeah. So also, if you're renting, as the home appreciates in value, the landlord or the person that owns that home they're loving every day, right? And so there's a lot of different benefits there.
A lot of people have asked too. I just want to talk about appreciation real quick. People have said, well, are these appreciations still going to go? Are we going to have a crash in the market? And, I lived through a crash. I was a mortgage loan officer professional during 2008. when we had this major depression that happened, and it was big. I mean, a lot of people are young now and they don't have any idea what that was all about. But values went down, and we kind of pinnacle out on value, and values did go down, but they returned back to where they were in a very short period of time, within a few years. And then from that point, they've just gone up, and they've increased and they've increased. And if you look over a period of time, you might see little squiggles like this where values go up and down. But even over 100 years, you can go back and look and you can see that the values are always going up over time. So you're going to see appreciation on your home. There may be blips during the time that you own the home, but over time, based on historical data, it should go up. And that's what we've always seen.
That's right.
What we've always seen. So there was a question here: how long do you have to live in a home for it to be profitable or a wise purchase?
That's a great question, and people need to consider that question more than they do. In an average market, if you're 1.5 to 2 years, that's kind of your break-even point to be able to appreciate and absorb your selling costs. But I've literally had clients in the last 2 years that have owned their homes less than 6 months, and they've sold it, and after fees, they've made $30,000. So we've never seen appreciation like this. There's
on a typical basis, we're talking 1.5 to 2 years. And
1.5 to 2 years.
If you're buying it as your primary residence, and there's a tax code that you don't have to pay capital gains on the value increase if it's your primary residence and you've been there longer than 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So in most cases, you want to be there 2 years anyway,
That's
just to save that money. But I would say 1.5 to 2 years. 2 years definitely is a great point to be at. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, let's switch to the next slide here, James. But Utah is a phenomenal place to own real estate, and it's a great place to invest if you're, as you get to that next level and you're ready to start building that. We have a lot of strategies and ways that we're helping investors grow their retirement portfolios, and I think they're getting way better than they would had they been in the stock market. And so,
right now for sure,
100%. And so I've got a lot of family members that are financial advisors, and they do a lot with mutual funds and with insurance and bonds and all those those securities investments, and they're good and they're powerful. But literally, when you're talking about cash on cash return, when you're looking at these 4 quadrants here, if you're just considering how much you can make on your down payment and how much return you can get on that, we're averaging between 40 and 50% on that, on the return on that down payment through these 4 quadrants. And I'll walk you through that personally. But the 4 ways are cash flow, and that's the money that you receive from your tenant in addition to what the mortgage payment is. Your tenant is paying down a portion of your principal every single month. So you might be getting $300 to $400 of your reduction of principal. The third is you're going to have your home is appreciating and inflating, and that's the big one. If we went up 30% last year, then you're taking 30% of a $400,000 asset. But the thing about it is you only put 5% down for your down payment to buy that asset. So you're actually getting 30% of 500, which is 150,000. Is that right? No, I'm terrible at on the go math.
Yeah, that's right.
But is that right?
You say 30% of 5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're getting $150,000 gain off 5% down payment of 150,000, or just, I'm saying, then if you do an investment property, you're probably gonna have to put more than that. But just know you're getting the gain on that whole, the price of the home, and you only put down your down payment, which is right. So, and then the last thing is your tax advantages, and there's a couple of different ways between.
It's huge.
Yeah.
On investment properties,
you put them all 4 together, and you're just knocking it out of the park. So, anyways, we'll walk you through that, and we'll show you some strategies as you learn more there. But go ahead and go to the next slide, Jeff, and we're just getting ready to wrap it up. But basically, uh, thank you for spending time with us tonight.
I did have one big question that somebody put on here.
Okay.
Starving students, quote on, that's a phrase. Now, I don't know if they really are, but they're paying rent. When should they get into buying a home? Should they wait till they're done with school, or should they try to get into something now? And that's kind of a loaded question. Um, Not everybody can qualify to buy a home when you're a starving student, so that might be difficult. But in some cases, people can, and so um, you know, there's different ideas and strategies we can do to try and get you qualified. But yeah, if you can put your money towards being in a home as opposed to paying rent, it's a no-brainer.
Even if
It's a
you have to
no-brainer.
buy a home that's not that nice, you're better to get in the market and ride with it than watch it get away from you, right? And so uh, reach out to
Well, there
us.
was a slide back there. You said 83% of most households, their wealth is coming from the equity in their home,
That's right.
and this is very true. And if you get into a smaller home because that's what you can afford right now, but it gains equity, that's the stepping stone. Because of the equity you've built there, you can now sell that home, take the equity from that, and get into the next home that you wanted to buy, where it would have taken you much, much longer to save that money. You don't have to worry about saving that money because you've built up the equity and you're able to transfer that equity into the next home for the down payment to buy it. And it's really a great way to go.
Absolutely. And yeah, get into the market. Don't, people I see too often, they get so set on thinking they need to buy a home that they're just going to be madly in love with for the next several years, and they just keep passing by really good options. And for your first time home or your second, we found that your best strategy is buy the home that's the most appealing to the most amount of people, the biggest group of people, and then buy that home. Just do regular maintenance on it, clean it up, take good care of it, and make it better than the way you bought it. And you're going to find that people are going to fight over that home, and that's going to be the stepping stone to get you closer to the home that you really want to have. And by your third, fourth home, you're going to have your dream home. And if you do this right and you spend money in the right places, you can literally just ride that momentum of the market up, and you're going to get there so much faster than if you're just squirreling away every last penny because you're dead set that you're going to put 20% down, you're going to avoid mortgage insurance. In today's market, with the interest rates, down as low as they are, and they're going to start creeping up, you just got to get in while the rates are low and be able to enjoy being on the momentum and riding that with the appreciation. And so lastly, since you've been on the call or the webinar, we have some incentives that we have for you. If when you use our team in UCCU and Jeff, then you qualify for $1,000. We're going to throw in $500, and we're going to help pay towards either your closing costs, or if you want to use it in some other way, as far as a rate buy down, or however you want to use that credit, we're gonna offer that for you.
And that's huge. That's a nice deal.
Yeah, and we're happy to do that. We're grateful for the time you spent. And the other thing is, please um, reply with your email, or we're gonna put our emails in here. Reply to Jeff and I. Tell us what kind of goals you have, what kind of home that you're looking to buy, the area. Let's start a communication chain here, because even if you're not ready to buy a home tomorrow, even if it's if it's in 3 or 4 months or a year, that's okay. Let's get you set up on some of these search tools. Let's get a financial assessment done, because the more information you can have now, the more prepared you're going to have, you'll be to make a better decision. And so you'll start learning the rhythm of the market. You'll start seeing the type of homes that are coming up. You're going to start training yourselves on how to see the deals. And then that way, when something does come up, you're ready, you're prepared, and then we can execute and get you into the right place. So do us a favor and reply back to us. Let us get you on that. It's not going to cost us anything, and we just want to do it for you as an added advantage. When we meet together, we'll hook you up with a couple of those books. But yeah, we're just really glad that you spent some time with us. And did we miss any questions?
No, I think we got all the questions, but if we did happen to miss something, or even if you think of a question later on down the road, we've got our emails on there. Please just go ahead and shoot us an email. And that way, we're not keeping people on here too long tonight. We appreciate the time that you have spent with us. I've been here for an hour and a half. It seemed to go by pretty quick.
Always does.
Yeah, again, thank you so much for attending the webinar, and we'll look forward to talking to you here soon and helping you with your home dream of buying a home.
Thanks, Jeff.
So, thanks, Brett, and have a good night, everybody.
Okay. See you later.